Hi. The first of three journal articles that I will discuss in this video is titled Intelligence Policy and the War in Iraq, written by Paul Pillar in 2006. Pillar contends that the problem with U.S. intelligence today is that its relationship with the policymaking process is broken and badly needs repair. In the wake of the Iraq War, Pillar claims it has become clear that official intelligence analysis was not relied on in making even the most significant national security decisions, and that intelligence was misused publicly to justify decisions already made. He also maintains that damaging dissension developed between policymakers and intelligence officers, and that the intelligence community's own work was politicized. Pillar argues that the Bush administration deviated from the professional standard not only in using policy to drive intelligence, but also in aggressively using intelligence to win public support for its decision to go to war. This meant cherry-picking data rather than using the intelligence community's own investigative judgments. An example of this is when George W. Bush, in his 2003 State of the Union address, claimed that Iraq was purchasing uranium ore in Africa. Even though the United States intelligence analysts had questioned the credibility of the report and had advised the White House not to use it publicly, the administration chose to put the claim into their speech anyway. Pillar suggests that the intelligence community should be repositioned to reflect the fact that influence and relevance flow not just from face-to-face time with the president, but also from credibility with Congress and most of all with the American public. The author concludes by arguing that these measures would reduce both the politicization of the intelligence community's own work and the public misuse of intelligence by policymakers. The second article is titled Two Cheers for Bargaining Theory, Assessing Rationalist Explanations of the Iraq War, written by David A. Lake. In this article, he assesses a leading academic theory of conflict, the rationalist approach to war, or simply bargaining theory, as one possible explanation of the Iraq War. According to Lake, bargaining theory correctly directs attention to the inherently strategic nature of all wars. Given the inevitable cost of fighting, the theory forces analysts to explain why states use the inefficient mechanism of war to settle disagreements. Lake contends that these strategic interactions were central to the outbreak of the Iraq War in 2003. According to the author, bargaining theory makes four central assumptions that either ignore or critically distort key factors that led to war between the United States and Iraq. First, bargaining theory assumes that states are unitary actors. As the Iraq case demonstrates, domestic political actors played an important role in driving the United States and Iraq to war. Second, bargaining theory is now modeled in two-player games. In the lead-up to the war, Saddam Hussein was unwilling to clearly signal that he had dismantled his weapons of mass destruction programs and therefore ran a higher risk of conflict with the United States in order to keep his regional rivals in line. Third, bargaining theory assumes that a war is over once the settlement is reached. The Iraq War makes clear that the conflict process extends long past the declaration of mission accomplished. Lake argues that had the cost of governing Iraq after the declaration of war had been properly assessed, even the Bush administration might have been discouraged from launching a preventive war. Finally, bargaining theory assumes that states act rationally. According to Lake, the United States and Iraq were clearly intentionalist, and that they developed strategies to attain their goals cognizant of the possible strategies of the other. Lake concludes that bargaining theory predicts a deliberate process of gathering information and considering alternatives. Decision-making in the Bush administration and Saddam Hussein's regime did not fit this model. The third journal article is a review of Lake's work titled Bargaining Theory and Rationalist Explanations for the Iraq War, written by Michael K. McCoy, which includes a reply from David A. Lake. McCoy claims that Lake draws needed attention to the strategic dynamics surrounding the Iraq War, but falls into the familiar trap of equating error with irrationality. Saddam Hussein faced dual dilemma of needing to reassure the United States and deter domestic and regional threats. McCoy contends that Saddam's dilemma only reaffirmed the overriding commitment problem, which makes the Bush administration's choice for war also consistent with bargaining theory. McCoy concludes that Lake is certainly right that behavioral explanations have much to offer, but bargaining theory still captures much of the dynamics regarding the 2003 war between Iraq and the U.S. David Lake's response to McCoy was that bargaining theory gets many things right about the Iraq War of 2003, but also gets some things wrong. And on closer inspection, some of what it gets right is for the wrong reasons. Drawing on the Iraq War, Lake concludes that the bargaining theory needs revision, and specifically that it might gain from incorporating insights from psychology and behavioral economics on human decision making.